Claire Reynolds was the kind of woman people often overlooked. She was quiet, soft-spoken, and polite to a fault. A 29-year-old elementary school teacher from Brooklyn, she had always believed in doing the right thing, even when it didn't benefit her. But that belief was about to be tested in a way she never imagined. It was a gray Thursday evening at Denver International Airport. Claire sat hunched over a cup of lukewarm tea, her tired eyes watching the boarding gate for Flight 2436 to New York. It had been a rough week. She had flown out to Denver for a last-minute interview with a nonprofit that focused on digital education for underprivileged youth. Claire had poured her heart into that interview, but the awkward smiles and vague responses afterward told her all she needed to know. She didn't get it. Adding to her exhaustion, her Airbnb reservation had fallen through, she'd caught a mild cold, and the altitude had given her a pounding headache for days. All she wanted was to board the plane, lean against the window, and pretend for a couple of hours that everything was okay. As they called Group 3 to board, Claire stood up and slung her tote bag over her shoulder. But just as she took a step forward, a commotion near the customer service desk caught her attention. A man, tall with messy dark hair and an expensive-looking coat, was struggling to juggle a suitcase, a diaper bag, and a crying toddler. The girl looked no older than 2, her cheeks red with frustration as tears streamed down her face. The father looked utterly defeated. "I'm sorry, sir," the gate agent said, glancing at her screen. "Your standby request can't be honored. The flight's full. There's nothing I can do." He let out a breath and pressed a hand to his temple. "Please. I just need to get home tonight. My court hearing is in the morning. It's about custody of my daughter." "I'm truly sorry," the agent said again, softer this time. Claire didn't know what came over her. Maybe it was the weariness in his voice or the way the toddler reached up to tug at his coat, as if pleading for comfort. But without really thinking, she stepped forward. "I have a confirmed seat," she said, her voice hesitant but clear. "Can I give it to him?" The gate agent blinked. "Are you sure?" The man looked up at her, stunned. Claire nodded. "He needs it more than I do." The transfer took a few minutes. Her boarding pass was voided, and a new one was issued under his name. Claire didn't ask his name, didn't want thanks or attention. She just stepped aside and let him and his daughter through. As they disappeared down the jet bridge, she sat back down near the gate and reopened her book, pretending not to feel the fatigue creeping back into her limbs. Her flight was rebooked for the next morning. The airline offered her a travel voucher and a small hotel room near the airport. It wasn't much, but she didn't mind. Something about that moment, the relief on his face, the way the child stopped crying as they boarded, made it worth it. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have possibly imagined, was who she had just helped. The man she gave her seat to was Daniel Morgan, the CEO and founder of Morgan Tech, a tech conglomerate valued at over $6 billion. But that night, he wasn't a mogul. He wasn't a boss or a board member. He was just a father, a desperate father who had been fighting a long, emotionally draining custody battle over his daughter Lily. His wife had passed away suddenly 8 months ago, leaving him in the middle of a legal nightmare with her conservative family, who didn't trust his busy lifestyle. That night's flight was his last chance to make it to court. Missing it could have cost him the only family he had left. He had tried every airline rep, every favor, even considered flying privately, but time had run out. And just when he was giving up, a stranger, a total stranger, gave up her seat. He didn't know her name. Only that her luggage tag read, Claire R. Back in New York the next day, Claire checked her email, expecting to find another rejection from the nonprofit. Instead, there was an unfamiliar message waiting for her. "Hi Claire, I hope this reaches the right person. I believe you gave up your flight last night for a man with a little girl. That man was me. My name is Daniel Morgan. I owe you more than a thank you. I'd like to meet and explain." Please let me know if we can talk. Claire read the email 3 times, confused. The name sounded familiar, but she couldn't place it. A quick search told her everything. Morgan Tech. CEO. Tech giant. Net worth in the hundreds of millions. She sat back, stunned. Daniel invited her to breakfast at a small cafe near Central Park. He arrived wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, his daughter giggling in his lap. He didn't look like a millionaire. He looked like a man who had finally slept for the first time in weeks. "Claire," he said, standing. "You didn't just give me a seat. You gave me time. Time I would have lost forever." She smiled gently. "I'm glad it helped. I really didn't expect anything. I just did what felt right." "I know," he said. "And that's why it mattered." Over pancakes and coffee, he told her everything. The legal battle, the desperate rush to make the flight, the court hearing that ended with the judge granting him full custody, because he showed up, and showed he cared. And then he asked, "Tell me about you. What do you do?" Claire shrugged. "I'm a teacher. I actually applied to run a nonprofit for youth tech education, but they didn't think I had enough leadership experience." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Would you do it if you had the funding?" Claire laughed. "Of course. I dream about it all the time." He reached into his coat and handed her a simple envelope. Inside was a check for $100,000. "Consider it your seed money," he said. "I'd like to partner with you to start something. For the kids. In honor of what you did for mine." 3 months later, Claire stood in front of a small office in Brooklyn. The windows were lined with computers, murals of hope and code painted on the walls. The sign above the door read, "Bright Futures Tech, empowering youth through code." It wasn't just a nonprofit, it was her dream, come to life. Daniel had funded the first year. But more than that, he had opened doors, introducing her to people, building a board, hiring mentors, and helping spread the word. Claire had never felt so alive, so purposeful. But the story didn't end there. One of the students who enrolled in Bright Futures was a boy named Raphael, 14 years old, who had never touched a computer before. Within 2 months, he built a website for a local bakery. Within 6 months, he was teaching other kids. At an award ceremony, when asked how it all started, Claire said, "With a single seat. One small choice to help someone else. That's all it took." A year later, Claire received an invitation to speak at a global conference on education and philanthropy. She shared the story, not to gain attention, but to remind people that compassion doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes, it's as simple as letting someone go ahead of you in line, or giving up a seat on a plane. Daniel and Lily were in the front row, beaming with pride. As Claire ended her speech, she said, "In a world where everyone's rushing to get ahead, kindness is the only thing that slows us down enough to remember what really matters." The crowd stood to applaud. Claire never expected anything in return. But her selfless act not only helped a father keep his daughter, it helped launch a movement that changed lives. In giving up a seat, she had taken her place in the world. Kindness is powerful not because of who sees it, but because of what it inspires. You never know whose life you're changing, or how that change might come back to change yours.